All right.
What's going
Hey,
on?
what's up? Yeah,
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just telling my followers, my fans, that we got a special treat tonight. I enjoy, excuse me, talking to people, anyone in jiu-jitsu. But tonight, and stop me if I say anything wrong, but we have double ADCC champ, 25 years old, BJJ black belt
hmm
from Australia, Adele Fornarino, who just recently won the biggest tournament in the world in jiu-jitsu, ADCC, her division, under 55, which I think is under 120 pounds. Most
Yep.
people here would
Yeah,
be
that
pounds.
sounds about right.
Yeah. And also the open class division, which if you don't know, you won the lightest weight class possible for the women,
Yep,
and you won the
correct.
open weight, which is very, it's a rare feat. So tell us about it. Tell us about ADCC.
It was an absolutely crazy experience. I still, to this day, I'm trying to make sense of what happened. It's still like I wake up and it still doesn't make sense. I think it was just something that had such a long lead up for me. I was, thinking about it obsessively for years and years and years, and to go there and to take out the division was something that I really had my eyes set on. But to be fair, the open weight was a little bit of a bonus. It was just something that I had kind of had in the back of my mind when Mo originally released the fact that there was going to be a female open, because there hasn't been a female open for years and years and years and years. And then when I finished my finals match and Mo was sitting on the edge of the mat with his clipboard and he's like, "Are you doing the open? Like, I gotta know now because we're putting them in and we're putting out the bracket." And I looked at all my coaches and I looked at my corner, and they're like, kind of, why not? And then I kind of looked at my body. I'm like, like, I'm not injured. There's no reason not to. And then I was just like, yeah, why not? And then I ended up backstage before we went out there looking at all these like multiple time world champions that were twice my size. And I kind of had that moment of like, what the fuck did I just do? What did I sign up for? But it went my way. The camp that we did clearly was a great camp and had me in the right kind of physical condition to get out there and do my thing.
Yeah, incredible. So, and I watched all your matches at ADCC. They were all amazing. And you had a
Thank you.
couple awesome arm bars, choi bars. I wanted to ask you about that. But even your first match, people may not know, but Mayassa Bastos, like you had a very, very close first
Yeah.
match. And I know you had some previous matches with her. And I don't know if that was the first time that you had beat her or not, but I know she had beaten you a couple times. So
Yeah.
just talk about that match a little bit. I know you must have been, pretty motivated to go into that one. It was such a tight match.
I was definitely itching for the Mayassa match. So we fought a couple of times in the gi. Um, she was actually my very very first black belt match ever. So I did Pan Ams in the gi, and then Mayassa was my first black belt match. And then I versed her again in Brazil at Brazilian Nationals. I got closer on that match, and I did a much better job on that match. Had a bit more confidence going into that, but she still managed to catch me on that. Like, just beat me by I think it was a few advantages. And then I've been asking for this match. I've been asking for it in Nogi for ages now because I think that she's incredible. I love her style of jiu-jitsu, and for me, it's a really like satisfying puzzle to try and unpack and to try and find ways to win that match, because she's so difficult to to beat.
Yeah.
She's very good at points exchanges, very good at not getting submitted. I don't think she's been submitted in something like 150 matches. Like, it's just her stats are insane. She's incredible, and that's why I wanted the match, because I knew that she would be a tough match, and I just wanted to figure out that puzzle.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's one of my favorite grapplers to watch too. Just
Yeah.
like her style is so good. I feel like she fights like a meow
Yes, exactly. Like,
for time.
super super like bendy hips, super bendy, really good at inverting. Quite like has that spurts of like aggression where out of nowhere she can be just kind of playing around, and then she's inverting and taking you back, or she's wrestling up, like that kind of style, which can be really really dangerous.
Yeah, so she's an incredible grappler. You won that match.
Yep.
Then it was basically a completely different match. Next match, talk a little
Yes.
bit about that one. That was against Jasmine, right?
Yeah, so stylistically they're very different. Jasmine has a completely different type of aggression. I was ready to be kicked and pushed and thrown around and bruised and all that kind of stuff. I even had, like, just before we walked onto the mat, I was having a conversation with the referee and just kind of clarifying what's the difference between a push and what's the difference between a kick, just to make sure that, we were all on the same page. No, but props to Jasmine. She did an amazing run through her trials. I think it was either the East Coast or the West Coast, one of the American trials. Um, and that was, yeah, a very different style of match. And I think I just went in there just ready for the aggression, ready to be thrown around a little bit.
Yeah, that was awesome. You got into it and really nice armbar, finished the armbar early on in the match.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so that you went into the final against Bianca Basilio, another amazing grappler. And she's won that division, or she's won ADCC before.
Yes, she has.
Right.
Yep.
So you're going in against someone that's won it before in the finals. Now you're in, like, this is the biggest tournament in the world. You had the full entrance, walkout. Just talk a little bit about that. Like, that must have been so cool.
It was amazing. Like, Basilio's won everything there is to win. She's had and is still having an amazing career. There was I think it was just keeping the routine, like not putting too much pressure on the fact that it was finals, but just treating it like it was anyone, like any other of those matches. So, the only difference was when you're backstage, they kind of go, okay, we're going to do this big announcement. When you walk out, make sure you hit your mark because there's going to be fireworks across the stage, and like, don't get hit by the fireworks, and just be careful because they're going to be really loud. Like, all that kind of stuff was the major difference. But besides that, it felt like exactly the same thing as the other matches did. It was wait by the side of the mat, referee's going to call you on, do your thing with your coaches, get out there and do the thing. And by the time I get to the side of the mat, I kind of just block out the rest of the crowd because otherwise it's just a lot. Like, there's just so many people yelling and screaming. So I just try and block all that out and get my job done.
And like, I've listened to a couple other of your interviews before. I feel like I understand you a little bit. And I've heard you talk about before how competing is a skill and you have to practice all of that. The coach is yelling, the atmosphere. Just talk a little bit about that because.
Yeah, 100%. Like, competing is a skill. You need to develop that skill. It's not just, you can't directly translate stuff that you're doing on the training mats to the competition mats. You'll go back to those like natural instincts when you're stressed. Like, when you're stressed in any environment, you go back to what your natural instinct is going to be. It's the same with competition. When you're out there and you're stressed and people are yelling, like, you get very overwhelmed. So you go to what feels comfortable. So that meant that we had to have a long period of skill development and do a lot of different competitions with different goals in mind, so that by the time I got to ADCC, I didn't just resort to old habits, or I didn't just get too tunnel vision on certain things, or, I needed to make sure I was multi-dimensional out there. It didn't matter what position we ended up in, that I was comfortable with that. For me, wrestling was a big thing. It was a big thing for that because I'm not renowned for my wrestling. It's a part of ADCC that's really important to work on. But I wanted to be comfortable wrestling, so working that was really important. Working top game, working leg locks, all that kind of stuff, so that by the time I got to ADCC, I could actually use that stuff. So we're working on it, we were developing it, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't hesitant to use it.
Right, and actually, while you were just talking about that just reminded me, in that finals match, you and Basilio got an exchange. And then you went down to the ground. But I swore when I was watching the match, I was like, I feel like Adele let that happen so she could end up on the bottom and play guard. Am I right?
Yeah, there's different ways to game the system. There's you can take advantage of the ADCC rule set. It's a no points period with a negative for a guard pull. So if I just get taken down, then I'm not guard pulling. You can game the system a little bit. So there's definitely, that one, and the one with Mesquita as well was the same kind of like. I just wanted to be, I had to be moving forward. I can't be moving backwards, and I can't make it too obvious. I have to, there's this balance. There's this, performative side of things where you have to make the referee see what you want them to see. But
and just and knowing the rules, knowing the points is super
100%. But it's like IBJJF, ADCC, submission only. You got to know what the referee's looking at.
Yeah.
Every different rule set can be gamed. It's just about knowing it well enough, knowing it better than anybody else, so that you can game it better.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And that finish, you got Bianca Basilio with what most people would call a mirror lock.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that something you developed or worked on, like specifically you were trying to work on the mirror lock? Just kind of talk about how you developed that as a technique or a finish.
I think it's just something that I added to the long list of submission sequences that I have from closed guard and from those tight exchange guard positions, like a knee shield half butterfly, for instance. It was the main thing that I wanted to do is make guard a really dangerous position and just deal with the most common reactions that you get out of people. So, you know, if they drive into you, then I have options from there. If they pull away from me, then I have options from there. If they're going left, then I got options. If they're going right, then they got options. And some of the most common things is going to be like somebody's going to try and pick you up and they're going to try and pull out of it. Or even if they don't pick you up, they're going to try and pull the arm out of the overhook. And I think it's the best exchange from there. Funny enough, Frank Mir was in the building. I didn't realize at the time, but he was in the building watching, and that was just that was crazy.
That's awesome. So you won the finals. Frank Mir saw you hit the mirror lock.
Yep.
And then also I saw you had a photo with John Jones also too, right?
That spun me out. That was crazy. Like seeing famous people in the stands and like people that you've watched on TV like that, it absolutely spun me out. And how excited he was to meet me, and then how excited I was to meet him. It was just this really cool interaction. And then he's like, "Oh, can I get a photo?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, yes, you can get a photo." And he's like, "Can I put it on my Instagram?" I'm like, "Yes, you can put it on your Instagram." But he was very lovely. He was excited to be there, and he was loving the event, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And you did so well at the event with all those superstars there, you know, submission after submission. The Choi bar, that was another one that I wanted to ask you about. You hit a Choi bar, I think, on Briana Ste-Marie, who's another amazing competitor. And I know you're, you know, pretty close with her.
Yes, yeah.
I would say myself, I'm your second biggest Canadian fan. Because he would probably be your biggest, and she's really, really good. I don't want to have to fight with her over that. So
no, she's pretty terrifying.
But just talk about the Choi bar. Like, you know, you set that up. It's such a lethal, deadly technique. It's so popular right now.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're one of the best people at it. Like just talk about the Choi bar. Like, why do you like that as a technique?
I think the Choi bar it is very deadly. It's very sneaky because you don't know that you're stuck in it until you're stuck in it, and it can come out of nowhere. And it also, you can force reactions for it. So if I am attacking one side and then you're defending that one side, then the Choi bar is really accessible. So it's a bit sneaky in that way where, you know, if you think you're doing the right thing, you're still doing the wrong thing. But yeah, it was something that I kind of added pretty recently. I haven't been doing it for very, very long. And I just picked up different concepts from different people. So different grip sets, different ways to throw the leg over, different ways to frame at the face, and just kind of made it my own in some ways. So I took some advice from people, but I still do it a little bit differently from what other people do it. So I don't often use a gable grip and pull it in. I more so use two hooking grips on the arm. You know, I use my shin across the face rather than whipping my foot over all the time. So just little details like that I just used to make it my variation of the Choi bar. I feel like is what made it really, really strong. And then, you know, on the mats at Atos, Andre was giving me some details as well, and it came out in the Mesquita match of how to go Choi bar to triangle. Yeah. You know, my coach that was there, Jake O'Driscoll, he was showing me some really cool stuff about Choi bar to back take. So we had all the other avenues from there as well to also make the position really strong.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it's the way that you hit it was so nice, right into that triangle choke. And yeah, that was wicked on being another ADCC champ. Another thing I've heard you talk about with your training, how you like to be very systematic with your training, have a systematic approach to everything. Talk about how that's important for jiu-jitsu, because I think that can give people some guidance with their training.
Yeah, I think like I mentioned before, one of my coaches there, his name is Jake O'Driscoll, he was really good at just planning out what each session was going to look like. Instead of just going to a training session, I think going to a training session is the easiest part. Actually rocking up and doing it is the easiest part. Doing 5-minute rounds, pretty easy. But actually going there with some intent and some specific positional stuff that you want to be working on, or some specific goals, that's when you're going to elevate your jiu-jitsu faster. The way I think about it is jiu-jitsu is like a full school. And then you have different subjects within that school, right? You got your maths, you got your English, you got your PE, you got whatever it's going to be. if you go in there doing all the subjects all at once, it's so hard to learn. It's so hard to take knowledge in. It's so hard to skill develop. But if you go in there and you're like, today I'm going to study maths, I'm going to get really good at my maths equations. Like, you know, the equivalent would be if I go in and I do just half guard and I'm going to get really good at my half guard exchanges, well, then you're going to get better at half guard. You're going to understand the position a whole lot better. But if you kind of have that shotgun approach, it's really hard to learn and skill develop. So we just went in there with, okay, today's going to be this day, and then tomorrow's going to be this day, and then the next day is going to be this day. But we started quite far out. So we started through, like, we almost started 2 years ago on this kind of way of training, and we reaped the benefits, you know, recently.
Yeah, and some people may not know, but you did ADCC 2022.
Yep.
And like that was, you know, at the time the biggest tournament in the world. And I think you were a brown belt in that one. You were, you know, you were younger than probably 22 or 23. So
yeah, 22. Yeah.
I wouldn't say you were maybe not overwhelmed, but it was for your first ADCC. So going in the second time, you know, probably helped a lot.
Oh,
right?
100%. Like going into the first time, I was just, you know, I was looking around. I was like, oh my God, the cameras. Oh my God, the audience. I was happy to be a part of such an amazing event. I was happy to be part of, at the time, you know, jiu-jitsu history, because it was just so huge. It was, you know, the build up to this event and the production that was behind this event made it so flashy, so exciting, and I was just really happy to be there and happy to have that experience. And I didn't really have high expectations at the time of actually doing anything in that competition. It wasn't until I was like out there. So my first match was with Theon. It wasn't until I was actually like out there with Theon where I'm like, oh, wait on, like there's not as big of a skill gap as I expected. Like I didn't get submitted in the first 10 seconds, which I thought was going to happen. You know, I could hang in there for a little bit, and then, you know, I think I let that mentality going in really like halt my jiu-jitsu. So I wasn't pulling any triggers. I wasn't being aggressive. I was so scared to do anything. And I think that was a really big mental battle for me. That was really like coming from internally more than it was like a technical disparity. But live and learn. I think that I needed that experience to have this experience now.
Yeah, like it makes such a huge difference having been there before. Yeah. Speaking of experience, I know you're someone that has trained at a lot of different gyms, right? Would you know like roughly how many different gyms that you've like trained and done classes at?
Jesus, a lot. Like I don't even know if I could put a number to it. Like I've been traveling and training jiu-jitsu for years now. Like I want to say it's going to be like upwards of 50. Like it's got to be a lot. It's got to be a lot of different gyms for sure. Because I also like cross training. I cross train a lot in Australia. So like even when I'm at home, I'm training at a bunch of different gyms, let alone when I'm traveling.
Right. So, okay, upwards of 50 different gyms. I'm someone that is a gym owner.
Yeah.
You know, I hope to continue to grow my gym. You've experienced a lot of different gyms, a lot of the biggest teams in the world. You've trained at Atos. What's some things that make for a good jiu-jitsu gym culture? Some things that you see that you are positive?
For me, it starts from the top down. So the gym owner or the head coach, the mentality that they have walking into the space, that it's a feedback loop. It feeds into everybody. So the best example I can use, like Andre, when he comes into training, every time he comes into training, he has a smile on his face. He says hello to everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a black belt world champ. It doesn't matter if it's your trial and you know you're just beginning your jiu-jitsu journey. He says hello to everybody. He has a conversation with everybody. You know, he motivates everybody to like get excited and you know make sure that they're coming in with a really positive attitude. And then he keeps reinforcing that through the actual sessions themselves. Like if he feels that there's a little bit of a lull that's going on through the competition classes, because you know it hits Thursday, everybody's tired, everybody's sore, you know, you're kind of coming in and you're already walking in a little bit negative, and then he goes like, and he just pulls that mentality back up, or he'll pause everything, he'll give a spiel about, you know, what are we trying to achieve, what are we trying to do today, how can we best do that, and then he lets us go again, and you can feel the shift in the room where everybody went from just kind of phoning it in and doing what we're told to do to everybody actually paying attention and giving their best and actually being energized. But it starts from the top down. Like it's a leadership thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100% true. I've experienced quite a few different gyms too, and yeah, it spreads the positive energy or the negative energy. I think.
Yeah.
Like, whatever the coach is giving out, I think that's, like you said, it's like a feedback loop.
Yeah.
You know, just get that in your students.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, again, some people may not know, you started jiu-jitsu quite young. I'm not sure how old you were exactly, but talk about like the early days of jiu-jitsu, how old you were when you started, and like, did you always like it when you started? Did you want to ever quit at any time? Talk about the early days.
I started when I was 10, and I started because at the time I wanted to be a police officer. I don't want to go down that career path anymore, but at the time I was like, oh, if I want to be a police officer, I want to know how to like beat up all the bad guys. So I just Googled the nearest martial art place to me, and it happened to be jiu-jitsu, and it happened to be a really good environment, and there was a really good coach at the time who was taking the kids classes, and like all the puzzle pieces just happened to work out. I just got really lucky. But when I first started, I was just competitive. Like I had done tennis, and then I'd done soccer, and then I'd done AFL. So I'd done a bunch of sports and just been very, very competitive in those sports. And then this was kind of one of my first like solo sports where I wasn't relying on a team. And I liked that. I didn't think I would like it, but I really liked it because, you know, everything was on me. So if I did bad, it was my fault. If I did good, it was my fault. I didn't really rely on my teammates. It was just kind of, you know, I got the rewards from all the hard work, and then I was just motivated to beat up all the boys, to be honest. I was the only girl with this. I just wanted to bash up all the boys.
So you fell in love with it basically right away.
Yeah, I did. I liked the physicality of it.
And
I have an older brother, and me and my older brother would just try and beat the crap out of each other when we were younger. Or like me and my cousins would all like be jumping around in my nonna's living room. We would call it like ninja wrestling, and we'd just like be throwing each other across the coffee table and into the couches, and we'd be getting yelled at because we're just breaking everything because we're just wrestling all the time.
And does your brother or anyone else in your family train jiu-jitsu now?
No, funny enough, they don't. My brother is like hyper obsessed with soccer. If you ask him any statistics on any soccer game ever or any player ever, he'll be able to like tell you straight away. So he went down the soccer path and he absolutely loves it. But no, none of my family ever did any kind of martial arts really. My mum did Muay Thai for a second there until she tore her calf muscle, and then that was then she retired from Muay Thai.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. So, okay. So you started 10 years old. You just wanted to beat up the boys, beat up your brother.
Yeah.
You know, fast forward all these years later, now you're ADCC champ. If you had to pick, you know, 3 of the top wins that you've had to date, I don't know if they would all be at this particular ADCC or maybe some other wins that you've had, like 3 that were particularly important to you. 3 wins that you had.
That's tricky. I think, this is no disrespect to any of these girls because they were all very, very difficult. The Mayassa win probably is top of the list because that's the one I really wanted. Like I wanted that one back because I knew that I had self-belief that I could do it. I just wanted to kind of prove it to myself more than anything. The Mesquita match, I still look at that and that blows me away because I watched Mesquita for years and years and have trained with her, and you know she is the lady goat. You know, there's a reason why that's her name because she's done some incredible things. And I think like A-Rod, I had Anna Rodriguez at Who's Number One a few months ago. That for me was a really tough match. A-Rod had beat me a couple times in the gi when I was coming up, and I was a purple belt, and then I was a brown belt, and she beat me. She actually choked me out as a purple belt. So I needed that one back. But also stylistically, she has a difficult style to deal with. So I was having a battle through that training camp of making sure I was going in there confident and not getting too much in my head or too scared to engage in her style of game. Like, her style is something that I struggle with, like that not wanting to engage, and I didn't want to overcommit and over-engage and then get caught out in things. So that took a lot of patience, and it took a lot of like discipline through that. Yeah.
So it shows your competitiveness. Not necessarily the championship wins, but the ones like, you know, matches that you lost or close matches that you had with someone that you wanted to get back or really wanted to prove it to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. That's important as a competitor. You're always kind of chasing that to want to do better.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So
I think even now like making sure that I'm not taking my foot off the gas and still like developing skills. Like coming off the back end of ADCC, I have a target on my back now, and I don't want to like, I don't want to give people time to bridge that gap and catch me. I want to just keep developing.
Yeah, 100%. That's amazing and motivating to hear too. So I know in ADCC previous history, like we just said, this women's absolute, they haven't done this, I think, since like, I want to say 2007. I could be wrong.
I think that's right. I think that's, yeah.
I've watched a lot of ADCC. Usually they have the winner of the male open weight compete in the super fight in the next tournament.
Yep.
So do you know, is there any indication, will you just be in a super fight in the next ADCC? Will you be in the division? I was curious of that.
I think because it's like an unprecedented thing that's happened. Like it's never happened before, so we don't know exactly how the next super fight or the next open weight is going to look. I had like a very, very short conversation with Mo, and he seemed keen to do a super fight, but now we just have to figure out what makes the most sense with a competitor of the super fight. I think it's nothing's locked in yet, nothing's confirmed, but I think it would be a cool concept to have a female super fight as well.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing, and I feel like it would be smart for ADCC to do that. So yeah, and I know you're looking, you want to stay sharp. You're a hungry competitor. You're probably likely going to stay very active. Like it's not just like we're not going to see an ADCC. Do you have anything lined up currently, or like anything you have your eyes on? When will we see Adele Daddy Fornarino in action next?
Oh, you'll definitely see me before the end of the year. There's some opportunities have hit my table. Now we're just trying to figure out what the best opportunities to take are, and where I want to travel to, and what competitors, like what opponents make the most sense. So at the moment they're all, I can't announce anything because they're all in like negotiation phase. They're all in like that like, let's figure out if this is actually going to happen. But there are going to be some cool matches coming up. I think that there will probably be some rematches coming up at some stage as well. I'm trying to like give away stuff without giving away stuff. There'll be a lot of matches. I'm not done. Like my year is still going to be quite busy. But now we just got to decide, like calendar wise, what makes the most sense.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm excited to see you in action next. I just wanted to finish up with something I thought would be kind of fun. You're from Australia, but you've lived and trained a lot in the United States.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yep.
So I have a this or that, USA or Australia. Just, 4 or 5. I just want you to pick. This is who is better. Who is better?
All right, I'm ready.
Who has better restaurants, Australia or the US?
I would say so. Like baseline level food at the grocery stores, like Australia has better. We got really good fresh produce, and like 90% of the steaks and things you guys are selling in America are like Australian steaks. So I have to be biased on that one. Like high-end restaurants, there's some really good high-end restaurants in America. Like when I went to Vegas and we went to some like more fancier restaurants, like there was some good stuff there. That's for sure.
Okay, I like it. What about who has better coffee?
Australia, Melbourne, hands down. Don't even need to think about that. Like I'm really sorry to say, America has terrible coffee. And if you ask any Australian, they'll tell you the same thing. But Melbourne people are also coffee snobs. Like we sit there with like little scales, weighing out how many beans are going in, like perfecting, like spending millions of dollars on coffee machines. It's an obsession here.
Yeah, shout out to my friends who helped me with this question, because my friend Brad, who has actually lived in Australia, I didn't even know, but he said, ask her coffee. He said, Australian people are very, very prideful about their coffee. So
we're very prideful. We have the best coffee in the world, and I stand by that. So if anybody in America is there and they want to taste what coffee is supposed to taste like, come to Australia.
All right. What about who has better drivers?
Probably Australia. The drivers in America are terrifying. Like driving in America is its own skill. You need, like, you're in I feel like you need your own license in America because like even though there are speed limits, like it's not really speed limits. And nobody really uses blinkers. Like it's a different. The Americans are good at driving because they're good at driving aggressively. So like everything's moving at 100 miles an hour and nobody's dying. But then you go to Australia and it's just safer because the road rules make it safer and there's cameras everywhere. So
Yeah,
I don't know
I would
if they're necessarily better, but it's probably safer.
I've never been to Australia, but I've driven a little bit in the U.S. and I agree. I was very terrified.
Yeah, it's everybody goes so fast.
Last one. Who has better beaches, Australia or the U.S.?
Oh, Australia. So I spent 3 years in Perth, which is on the western side of Australia, and the beaches there are just so scenic, and the sand is so like powdery and white, and the water is like just crystal clear, see through. The only downside, and it's only a small thing, there's a lot of sharks in Perth. So you're like in the water and then the shark alarms will be going off or helicopters going by and telling everybody to get out of the water. Besides that, the beaches are fantastic. You just got to be careful about the odd shark sighting.
Yeah, I'll stay on the land.
Yeah, maybe. Bit safer,
Yeah.
safer.
So right on. And, thanks a lot, Adele, for taking the time to do this. I don't take too much of your time, but I thought, it'd be really cool to just chat with you a little bit and learn a little bit more of your background. I know some of these questions you've answered before. It kind of gets repetitive, but I think
No, I'm happy to go through it.
so. And I saw someone said in the chat or a comment recently,
Mm-hmm.
where or when can we get some of the merch? Adele Daddy Fornarino. Some people may not know the nickname. If you want to explain that or just talk about the merch, when can we get it? When can I get a sweatshirt with Daddy Adele Fornarino?
Oh, it's coming. So the daddy nickname came from some of my training partners here in Australia, and it was just kind of it started off as a joke. It started off as they were like, you're walking around with this daddy energy, and it took me a second to like realize what she was saying, and then it's daddy energy is just like that like alpha bravado kind of energy where you're walking around like you own the room. It's like I was doing my training camp and I was like, walking around trying to just beat up everybody, and she's like, yeah, you got that daddy energy. And then she made a joke. She's like, oh, you got to get daddy done on your nails when you go to WNO. You like write it on your nails. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Why not? Let's do it. And then it just kind of caught on from there, and it's everybody really, really liked it and resonated with it. So, now we're putting it on hats and we're going to put it on some shirts and some jumpers and things like that. But the daddy merch, specifically the hats, are going to come pretty soon. Yeah, probably. I want to give a timeline, but then I'm going to be really sad if it doesn't hit this timeline. Let's say 2 weeks. Let's be optimistic and say 2 weeks. But the daddy hats will be out pretty soon, and some other stuff will be coming. You just got to keep an eye on my Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah, so I was going to ask, just keep an eye on your Instagram. Well,
yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, Adele. I really appreciate it. We're all excited to see what you do next. And that's such an awesome run. It was just awesome. So yeah, I really appreciate the time, and thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for having me, man. Before I do head out, I do want to say happy Father's Day to all the dads in Australia. It's Father's Day here in Australia today, so I'm just about to go take my dad out to breakfast. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
Happy Father's Day from Daddy herself.
Yeah, exactly. It's my day today. Exactly. It's not his day. It's my day today.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Adele, and have a great day with your dad.
Thanks so much for having me, man.